All right. Let's see here. Is this working? Volume up. Okay. All right, so I have shared my links on Twitter. I'm going to be tweeting through my phone throughout the event. So let me send out the announcement that we're now live. Okay, so let's get the link going, see if anybody else joins. In the meantime, send out a tweet. Pull up the chair, grab a cup of coffee or a snack, and get ready and tune in to the Read More Science live stream now. Okay. We're going to give a moment for people to arrive. I'm going to have a sip of coffee. Okay, let me grab my ukulele while we're waiting for people to join. Okay, so the first couple minutes, I'm just going to be waiting for people to arrive. I sent out a couple tweets letting people know that the link is now live. If you want to share it on your own Twitter, that's cool too. I tuned this yesterday, so it should be okay. So thank you for coming to the Read More Science live stream. Please share this link with other people and let them know to come and join us. I will be doing a live question and answer segment. I will also be giving away a free book via the Q&A session. People who ask me questions will be automatically entered to win it, and I will announce the winner by the end of the live stream. The whole point of this live stream is to raise money for my Science Art Fund, which I will be discussing momentarily. And all of the links to everything that you will need are actually pinned to my Twitter page right now. So if you go on there, there's the link to my Ko-fi page. So Ko-fi.com is a website where you can create a page for funding, and I'm using it because Ko-fi.com is linked to PayPal, so it's like the easiest way for people to send money. So all of the proceeds from today's fundraiser are going to science artists. basically, I'm commissioning artists to do various projects for readmorescience.com, all of them themed around science literacy, and all of the money is going to go towards the artists who are making those. None of it is going back to the website because I'm going to have one of the artists is making a t-shirt, and that when that t-shirt is sold, the money from the t-shirt is actually going to go towards the website maintenance fees. So for this fundraiser, all of it's going back to the science artists. So that's a summary of that. Now we'll keep waiting for other people to arrive. Down at the bottom of the sea is something that fascinates me. It's a word, something that fascinates me. It's a woman too, and I don't need to be about what does feelings in the dark. How does he do it? Through chemosynthesis. Chemosynthesis. No mouth, no blood, no blood. What? It's chemosynthesis. Okay, so I'm just strumming around on the uke, practicing for later, waiting for people to tune in. I have tweeted it out, letting everybody know that the live feed starts now. From now until 4 o'clock, I am trying to raise money for my Science Art Fund. So all of the money raised from today's live stream is going to science artists who are working on science literacy campaigns for readmorescience.com. None of it's going back to me. So I just want to give a shout out to the first people who've donated so far. One of them is Heather Burton. She's a very close friend of mine, and I grew up taking writing lessons with her. She's a very good family friend. I am so excited to have seen she's donated to my science literacy campaign, so thank you, Heather. I will be doing shout outs to everybody who donates today. So if your name pops up on my ko-fi.com page, I will give you a shout out during the live stream, literally interrupting myself to thank you, because this whole thing is to raise money for science art. And as soon as a few more people tune in, I am going to start talking about the science artists who the proceeds from today's event are going to fund, because there's some pretty exciting stuff in the works. And I'll obviously be going more into it through my monthly newsletter, because some of it's like kind of like preliminary, but I have a general idea of what's happening. So I'll go into that soon. But in the meantime, if you want to share on Twitter that this is happening and let your followers know and let anybody else know, grab a cup of coffee, grab your cat, and pull up and get ready for an exciting next couple hours. You don't have to be tuned in the whole time. If you just want to stop by, leave a $5 donation, that's cool too. Towards the end of it, I will play my chemosynthesis song, which was a little bit of a hit, I guess. It was for a scholarship, actually. I wrote the song in like a 24-hour period, recorded it, and uploaded to my YouTube channel in order to compete for a Women in STEM scholarship that's hosted by Cards Against Humanities. Weird fact, they support women in STEM, so that's cool. I would like to do more SciComm songs, science communication songs on my ukulele, but I am still working on them. Those will get uploaded to my YouTube channel in the future. So if you want to support that, if you would like to stay tuned with that, you can hit the subscribe button and, look out for new things coming in the future. So we're just going to hang on for about 5 more minutes, and then I will start introducing the artists who today's fundraiser is all about. So if you're just getting here, I am currently kind of killing time, waiting for a few more people to tune in. It's only a little bit after 2. So shortly, I'm going to start discussing the artists that today's fundraiser is, all the proceeds are going to go to support. I am really excited about these projects. It's going to be super fun. A lot of it's going to be available for readers of the readmorescience.com website. We're going to be doing things like making pins and book bags and t-shirts. Money from the t-shirts is going to go back to the readmorescience.com website to pay for its hosting fees, but everything else is going to go towards the artists. So it's going to be like everything that they make, the money will go back to the people who created them, because I feel like, that's fair. The whole point is to get more people to read more science, because science is for everyone. So if you're just tuning in now, go ahead and share this link on Twitter. Let people know that you're watching. See if you can get other people to watch. And again, just a couple more minutes now and I'll start talking about those artists. Hi to whoever has sent a chat. So I did enable chat for this live stream. I've never used YouTube live stream before, so we're kind of going to be learning about it together. If you have a question for me, or if I say something and you're like, hold up, let's talk about that, please send a chat because I will stop what I'm doing and check it out. If anybody gets weird in the chat, I will kick them out. It's not a big deal. It's the internet. We're aware of what happens on here. Yeah. So feel free to tune in and out if something is going on that you want to tune into and you're excited about. You're welcome to, stop now, come back later. I did post the schedule to my Twitter account, so if you keep that poll up during the live stream, you can kind of be aware of like what's going on. I have my phone here and I will be like live tweeting during it, trying to get people to interact. So we will see whether that works. In the meantime, other fun things, ways for you guys to interact. If you want to kind of shout out your favorite popular science book or what you're currently reading or ask for book recommendations, feel free to use that chat system. That's totally fine. I will do my best to keep up with it. In the meantime, I think I'm going to send out a tweet letting people know that I'm now going to start talking about the science artists that this fundraiser is for. Starting now, we'll be discussing the science artists this fundraiser is for and some projects. I can't spell today. Some projects that are. Do you guys ever have this? You can't spell anything that you're trying to say. And some projects that are in the works. Exclamation point. Tweet. Hi, I'm currently reading Radium Girls. Only read the first chapter so far, but so good. Oh my god, yes. I have read the first 3 chapters of Radium Girls. It is sitting on my shelf over there. My fiance for Christmas built me like another little bookshelf, and I've completely filled it with books that I haven't read yet, and they're all like about women in science. Like I have a Beatrix Potter one, which I'm really looking forward to reading. But Radium Girls is amazing. It's on my list of books to finish. It's one of those ones that like I bought and I couldn't wait to start reading, and so I just read the first few chapters and then set it back on my shelf. Right now I'm reading Losing the Nobel Prize, which has just occurred to me that I left it over on the couch, so hold on a second. So I think we're actually going to start off by talking about Losing the Nobel Prize, because I want to remind people that this is the January Read More Science Book Club pick. So this is what the book club on Goodreads is reading this month. I'm really excited because I actually have a signed copy from the author, which I don't know if you can read that. Anyway, huge thanks to Dr. Brian Keating. He very graciously and generously sent me a copy of his book. When he heard that I was featuring it in my book club this month, I wanted to start 2019 with this book because I'm kind of setting the theme for the year, which is that we're kind of like challenging the status quo. We're looking at books that are by women and are kind of like interesting and fascinating and disruptive. This one, Dr. Brian Keating talks about a lot of like the gender inequity problems in the Nobel Prize, and we're going to be discussing that on the Goodreads page. if you have not signed up for the Read More Science Book Club on Goodreads, maybe take a moment to check that out. We are reading one book a month this year as part of the hashtag Read More Science in 2019 kind of campaign that I'm leading. So anyway, I think it's time now that we start talking about the amazing science artists that today's fundraiser is all about. So a couple weeks ago, you might have seen a tweet that I sent out asking people who were interested in making art about science literacy to please reach out to me and see how we could collaborate and kind of partner up to continue spreading the whole message of Read More Science, which is that science is for everyone and reading makes the science accessible. So the response to that tweet was like amazing. Like I was floored with all the emails I was getting from people who were excited about making projects about science literacy. And the first thing that I kind of realized was I want to pay these artists for the work that they're doing. A couple of the projects are things that people are going to be like making and then selling things for readmorescience.com. And so that money will obviously go right back to that person, the artist. But some of it was things that I wanted to commission and buy. So for example, I have got an artist who is working on a new Read More Science logo. I've been using a royalty-free image for a little while now, and I absolutely love it, but I really wanted something that was special and unique to readmorescience.com. So I reached out to Alex Boersma, who you may have heard of because I actually featured her on my in the monthly newsletter some months back because she illustrated the book Spying on Whales, which I reviewed and did a giveaway with. Alex is an absolutely fantastic artist. She was the perfect person to do a logo redesign for me. So I commissioned her to do that, and I additionally paid for the copyright to the image so that I could sell it on t-shirts, which is coming soon. I don't know, I don't really have a timeline on that, but there's definitely going to be t-shirts, and the money raised from selling the t-shirts is going straight back to readmorescience.com. So when I commissioned Alex, I actually had a sponsor who helped pay for the majority of the price for her art. So that's mostly taken care of. Some of the proceeds from today are going towards the last payment I'm making to her when she sends me the finished work. And then the rest of it is covered by my sponsor, who is a wonderful person. Shout out, Ryan. So that is one of the projects, and it's going to be amazing because it's obviously going to be on the front page of Read More Science. The t-shirts, I already pretty much have the design for. I just need to find, where I want to print them and then what in like how I'm going to set them up, because like I could either use Etsy or I could use Society6. So I'm going to find a way to make those available in the next month or two. Something else I'm really looking forward to, but we've got kind of a distant timeline on, is a Read More Science zine. This one I am super excited about, and I really want to pay the artist up front for some of the creative work that she's going to be doing. Basically, she's going to be putting together a zine over this semester, and then we're going to hopefully release it in the early, like, our first week of June. And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be kind of like a coloring book and also like a guide to, like, it's like a guided reading journal. And I think that that will really help people interact with the books that they're reading. And it could be a great way to get people to read over the summer, especially if you're a student and you don't have time to read during the school year, which I totally can relate to because I work and go to school and it's hard to do that sometimes and find time to read. Anyway, so the other things we're going to be doing are pins and bookmarks and a book bag. So I wanted things that were science literacy themed and Read More Science themed that we could sell, and the money would go back to the artists, but they would also get people excited about reading books about science. And so I have several people who are doing pins. I have a couple people doing bookmarks, and then I'm still figuring out who's going to do a book bag, but that'll all come together. So actually, that being said, if you are a science artist and you would like to collaborate with me and with Read More Science, please shoot me an email at sciencebookreviews@gmail.com, and some of today's proceeds can go towards that project if we discuss something and get something set up. So let's see. That was our first topic of today's live stream, discussing artists and the projects and proceeds. So if you don't know yet, I am taking donations through coffee.com. The link to that is, let me just put it in the chat here. Donate here. It's pretty easy to remember. It's coffee.com/readmorescience. Okay, so I set up the coffee page for $5 per person. So it's basically like buying someone a coffee, which is why it's coffee.com. And my page is set up so that when I receive a donation, it's actually going towards my Fund the Read More Science Artist goal. So today I don't actually have like a set goal in mind of money or like an amount that I'm trying to raise. Today is more just about awareness and letting people know that they can contribute to this fund. Ideally, I would like to hit $200 by the end of the live stream. So if you would like to share the link to this to other people, whether that's on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, that would be super cool. Just like let people know if you've donated. And again, throughout the live stream, I will be keeping my eye on the donations page. So if I see somebody's name pop up and I can give them a shout out, I will do that. So I do accept via PayPal. I was just sort of like nervous about giving out like my PayPal information, but I think it's just paypal.com/Sarah Olson. That's SARAHOLSON. Yeah, but coffee.com is through PayPal, and so it's a little bit like it you can go through coffee.com and it's the same thing as PayPal because it's connected to my PayPal. So, oh, I got an anonymous donation. Love your passion for science and literature. Good luck. Good luck to you too. Thank you. All right, so I think we're just going to go ahead and move into the first book review, and I am going to send out a quick tweet about that because I decided that I would start with my favorite science book of like all time, which is Lab Girl. And I'm hoping that this is one that some of you guys have read, and if you haven't yet, I highly recommend it. So let me just say, let's see here, starting, let's see here. First book review is of Lab Girl by Hope Jarin. I hope you guys have like coffee and stuff and you're like comfortable. Please sit down and get comfortable if you haven't already. Okay, that's sent. Okay, so Lab Girl. Ironically, I did not get my own copy of this book until like maybe 1 or 2 months ago, even though I read it probably a little while after it first came out. Lab Girl is a science memoir by Hope Jarin, and she's a geobiologist. And it's a really, really good book if you want to see what the life of a scientist is like. I mean, she takes you from her childhood all the way into like right before she published her book. So you kind of get a whole overarching narrative of her experience going into her field. She does talk a lot about the gender inequity that she experiences. It's definitely like a good book if you have like a feminist book club. This is a good one. It's a perfect introductory book for someone who has never read a science book. And the reason that I say that is because I read this one kind of early on when I had only read maybe a couple popular science books by that point. And her book really resonated with me because she's very open about mental illness and kind of the things that she experiences, as well as her experience being a woman in a field. And it's just kind of one of those books where she's very real and she's very vulnerable, and at the same time you can like see how strong she is and how tough she is. She's kind of one of those people that like I secretly hope I am distantly related to because she's incredible. And she's also from Minnesota, and my family is from the Midwest. I was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Excuse me, Minneapolis, Minnesota. So she's just one of those people who, like, by the end of the book, you feel like you know her. You feel like you've had a conversation with her. She's also on Twitter. She's very active on Twitter and very funny. So I recommend following her. I think it's just at Hope Jarin. Yeah, it's kind of cool that she was raised in a family that like valued science. Her parents were, I think, were either teachers or professors, and so it's nice to kind of get this perspective of someone who's been raised to go into the field that she's going into. Even though she encounters sexism in her field, she's still I mean, she was raised by parents who taught her, they're like, it doesn't matter what your gender is, you know, you can study science, you can do whatever you want, you're smart, you're capable. And that strength kind of like resonates throughout the book. I especially like her friendships that she has. She clearly very much values the people in her life who stick by her and stand up for her and that she stands up for. And it's just, you know, it's just one of those things that like you can tell that she's a good person. So that's one that I highly recommend. Again, that is Lab Girl by Hope Jarin. Definitely my favorite like science memoir kind of book. So, all right, we've done Losing the Nobel Prize and Lab Girl, which again, if you're just tuning in now, Losing the Nobel Prize by Dr. Brian Keating is our book club pick for January. So that's the Read More Science book club. All right, so let's see how this is going. Oh, I'm getting some YouTube subscribers. my future mother-in-law just messaged me and she's like, hey, I want to donate to your thing. Okay, that's great. All right, let's see here. Oh, I just saw a notification. Oh, here we go. Do you read more fiction or nonfiction? I definitely read more nonfiction than fiction, which is really funny because I grew up very much only reading fantasy and science fiction. Yeah, I was very much into fiction until recently. And the whole reason I got into nonfiction was just complete chance. I was living in Berkeley and I wandered into a bookstore one afternoon while I was killing time before class, and I picked up a copy of Michael Pollan's The Botany of Desire. And that was probably the first nonfiction book I had ever like been interested in reading. It's an absolutely gorgeous book. It was probably the first science book I had ever read. This was back in like 2015, 2016, I want to say. And I didn't know what a science writer was, and I didn't even know much about science at the time. And that book just absolutely changed my life. It was one of those books that I read over and over. I just have this old worn out paperback on my shelf, the same one that I picked out in that bookstore a couple years back. And after that, it was really weird. It was like I suddenly couldn't read enough of it. It was like popular science and popular science only from that point forward. I was like going into the library and just meandering through their science and nature sections, reading things. I almost immediately read Lab Girl after The Botany of Desire, and then I read I Contain Multitudes by Ed Yong, and that one was just absolutely stunning. Like if you haven't read I Contain Multitudes yet, or if you haven't really started reading much popular science, I Contain Multitudes is a perfect place to start. So to answer your question, I read a lot more nonfiction than fiction. But I just recently read Hank Green's book, An Absolutely Remarkable Thing, and that was probably the best fiction book I've read in quite a while. Abby, you may have already talked about this, but do you have any favorite science illustrators on Twitter/Instagram? I need to follow more. Abby, you should follow Alex Boersma. That's Boersma. Alex illustrated a book called Spying on Whales, and it was one of the first books that I did a giveaway with on readmorescience.com. Alex is currently, I recently commissioned her to redesign the logo for my website, and she's extremely talented. Her website is really fun to look through. She's really good at like botany illustrations. I love those ones that she does. She also does woodcut style art, and I mean, it's incredible. She is definitely one of my favorites, obviously, because I've asked her to do this logo thing. And another one, I try to feature science artists in my monthly newsletter. So every month I'll do like On the Wall, which is featured science art. And so I need to dig through that newsletter and pull out everybody that I featured and just make like a mass post of that because yeah, but Alex Boersma is on Instagram and she has a website. See someone else in class. We had read Poland's Omnivore's Dilemma. I love how he writes. Yes, actually, Omnivore's Dilemma was the first book by him that I ever read. That was back when I was a junior in high school. I can't remember what class I was reading that for, but it was just like randomly assigned to me one year, and I didn't even like it at the time. I was like, oh, whatever, this is okay. And then I went back and reread it after I read The Botany of Desire, and I was like flabbergasted. Like suddenly I couldn't get enough of Michael Pollan. And at the time I was living in Berkeley, which is where he lives. And so I was like really obsessed with the idea of bumping into him on the street. So I like read everything that he had published by that point, except for what's it called? Second Nature. I don't think I've read that one yet, but it's on my bookshelf. His writing is Oh, and I haven't read his new one. He's got that one about psychedelics now. Oh my God, that one sounds really good. We can't even keep it on the shelf at the bookstore I work at. Every time we get a new copy in and we put it up, I mean, it's like sold within an hour. So I have yet to get my hands on a copy of that one. But yeah, his writing is definitely just stunning. He's been a professor at UC Berkeley for a while now. So my dream is to go there for grad school and take one of his classes if he's still there. But I'm going to go ahead and move on to, actually, since Abby's here, I am going to be reviewing your book. So that's coming up next. But I wanted to talk about Inferior first because this is the book I'm doing a giveaway with during the live stream. So Inferior was the most life-changing book I've like ever read. Like I'm trying to find a way to put it into words. I did a review of this book and I highly recommend reading that because I spent a lot of time. No, don't leave, Abby, stay. Yes, because that way you can answer questions about your book if anyone has any. But yes, Inferior. So this is literally like the third copy of Inferior that I've bought because I keep giving them away to people. So this one, I'm gonna do a Q&A session around, what time is it? 2:30? Probably around 2:45 or 2:50. Like I'm gonna start the Q&A session, and then when people ask questions, they're going to be entered to win this copy, and it's just going to be like a random selection thing. I also have I don't know if you can see this with the weird lighting. I'm sitting in front of a window. So this is the Read More Science bookmark, and it has a picture of Rachel Carson on it that was drawn by a friend of mine. So this and Inferior is going to be what's included in the book giveaway. I am going to try to restrict this to the United States because I recently mailed a book to Finland and I absolutely love my Finnish fans, but it was kind of expensive to mail, so we're keeping this one to the US. So Inferior is, like I said, it's pretty much life-changing to read. It's about how science has perpetuated sexist stereotypes. That's like the best way I can think of how to describe it. Like it starts with Darwin kind of asserting that like women aren't as evolved as men and just kind of like works its way from there. And Angela Sani is not only an incredible writer, but she's an incredible researcher. Like she's put a lot of time and effort into finding these, like the root of our stereotypes and the studies that caused those stereotypes, and then she takes the time to deconstruct them and then gives us current research and recent research that refutes these old studies that are perpetuating our stereotypes. And I mean, I don't want to like give too much away, but like every study that she covers is just absolutely fascinating, and it's one of those books that you kind of want to keep near you, and because like the arguments are always in your head. I feel like as a woman we're constantly having to defend the fact that we've been subordinated and that we're not listened to and that people don't believe us, and I feel like Abby would have a lot to say about that, not being believed. But like this is definitely one of those things. This book, Inferior, is definitely one of the books that if someone tells you like, I don't believe that there's gender inequity in science, you'd be like, oh, you should read this book because every single page is about why there's gender inequity in science and all of that. Gosh, yeah, it's just. And the other thing is, Angela Sani is a incredible journalist, and so it's just one of those books that is it's just really well done. I make an effort to always buy a second copy of it whenever I purchase a copy for myself because like I said, I just always end up giving them away to friends or giving them away to people I think should read it. I get really worked up over this book. I have an Inferior pin that I wear at work sometimes, and at the bookstore, people will ask me questions about it, and I'll be like, here's a copy. Why don't you buy it and read it and learn more about it? Word of mouth is very effective. So this is a brand new copy. So whoever receives this, I haven't even opened it yet. So it's nice and new. If you guys have questions about this book during the Q&A, this would be a great one to ask about because advocating for women in science has been like my thing since I joined the internet. If you go to my Instagram or if you spend any time on my Twitter, you will see that the majority of what I tweet about is or post about is like why we need to make the field of like I guess you would say the STEM fields more accessible for women. Because I recently ranted a little bit about this on Twitter, but like I was raised in a very conservative place. I was homeschooled when I was a kid, so a lot of my science education was censored, and I wasn't allowed to attend school on days that we studied like science and stuff like that. Oh, hello, Tam. So anyway, my point is that like science was something that wasn't very accessible for me when I was growing up, and this is one of those books that like made me change my major because it was so just incredible. Like I was an English major and then I started reading this book and others and I was like, guess what? I'm a microbiology major now because I know what I want to study and I know I've wanted to study it for forever. So yeah, that's cool. So, all right, we've done 3 books now. We've done Inferior, we've done Losing the Nobel Prize, and we've done Lab Girl. So the last book for round 1 of book reviews, which if you've seen my schedule on Twitter, after round 1 of book reviews, we're moving into the Q&A segment. But the last book that we're doing for this one is Abby Norman's Ask Me About My Uterus. And I'm so excited to review this one now because Abby is here in our chat system. So if you have questions for her, it's totally okay to like ignore the fact that I'm talking right now and just, you know, chat with her. So I wanted to feature this one because it's not only is it like it's really new and I feel like more people need to know about it. I saw this one sitting on a bookshelf in my bookstore for like several days. And every time I passed it, I was like, what a beautiful book. That looks so interesting. And then when I got a gift card to my bookstore, I was like, I know what I'm spending it on, that book with a really pretty cover. So I can finally figure out what the heck it's about. And this is a book that I'm not going to lie, I've definitely cried several times while reading because I think every woman has had or at least a lot of women have had the experience of telling their doctor something and having them not necessarily believe her when she says it. And I have several friends who I'm buying copies of this book for because it's just one of those that like if you read it, you want to talk to your girl. Oh, Abby, I wanted to give you a hug after I read this book. That's what I told my fiance when I finished it. I was like, oh my God, Abby, just, ugh. So let's see. I'm trying to figure out the best way to like recommend this, but this is, in some ways, it's a medical mystery. In some ways, it's It's a memoir, and in a lot of ways, it's a science journalist quest to making doctors understand women's pain and to calling out the fact that doctors don't always listen to women when they describe the problems that are going on. It's one of those books that resonates with you. Like, it's not one you're going to forget about. It's not one that you're going to think lightly of. Tam, is it on Audible? I'm not sure. I should find out about it. But Tam, you would absolutely love this one. I highly, highly recommend you get a hold of it if it is in an audiobook version. If it is not in an audiobook version, Abby, we need to get on that because it is very important. Oh my God, you narrated it too. Okay, this is awesome. Okay, good. Okay, so I thought she was being overdramatic. It ended up being like appendicitis. Yeah, that's another big one is that women who have, okay, so like my little sister, like I know people who get ovarian cysts and they are like in a lot of pain, and doctors are just kind of like, oh yeah, it's your period. And so sounds about right. Yeah, so this is one that if you can get your man to read it, it's a very good one to ask your man to read because it's about, being taken seriously and being listened to and people understanding you are going through pain and things like that. So it's also, some of my favorite parts about it is whenever Abby goes into like studies in history and the ways in which women have been ignored or like not like misunderstood or mistreated, those really got me worked up because they were just like those parts just were really strong and got me very worked up. And it sounds like the paperback is coming out March 5th, so if you for some reason don't want this beautiful hardcover, you can also get a paperback. I had to go with the hardcover because I can't get over the like flowers and stuff. I'm a sucker for flowers. Okay, so I have a few other books that I'm going to be reviewing in round 2. Those include Gods and Robots, The Food Explorer, and then there's a couple kids books like Fieldwork Fail and stuff like that. They're really cute. But we're going to do that after the Q&A session. So let me send out a quick tweet and let everybody know that the Q&A is now starting. Oh, thank you, Tam. I just got your donation. Woot, woot, shout out. Okay. So let's see here. Book reviews, round 1 is now complete. Exclamation point. Let's see. We're now starting Q. Let's see what this is. Can you ever, sometimes I can't find the and sign on my phone. Q&A. So drop your questions in the live chat or right here in the comments. Hashtag. Hashtag. I just love hashtags. Okay. Hashtag live stream. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, thank you, Abby. I think that your book was one of those that, like, pain memoirs, I hesitate to call it a pain memoir because in a lot of ways, yes, it is, but it's also one of those books that like is just, it's so beyond that, like it's so important in so many other regards and for so many other reasons that it's not just like your story, it's the story of women around the world and it's a story of women in history. And it's just kind of one of those things that like it's important that we have more books like this going to press, in my opinion. Always more books by women, also by young women. I think that's really important. I like to see books by young women because I feel like this is something that I rant about a lot, but a lot of women, I feel like don't get the same credentials at a young age that men do. And like a lot of people just inherently are like, this man is qualified to talk about this thing. And like he isn't necessarily qualified in any way, shape, or form. But like this woman over here is totally qualified, but she's young and therefore like not as, qualified. So I like to see books about women, books by young women, I mean. All right. So let's see if we can get the Q&A going now. I just sent out the tweet letting people know they can start dropping questions. Cool. In the meantime, let's think of something I can rant about while we wait for the questions to show up. Oh, and also, if whoever's tuned in right now, if you want to drop like what you're reading or what you what you're currently reading or some of your favorite popular science books into the comments, I will totally talk about them. Someone mentioned Radium Girls earlier, and that's a really good one, which I personally have not finished reading, but that's a great one. I'm glad to hear people are reading that. If you're curious what's on my bookshelf, if you want to know why I like microbiology so much, because I do. If you want to know what my fish's name is, it's Perry the fish. We're just going to sit here in awkward silence until someone asks a question. You could win a free copy of Inferior if you ask a question. I didn't even mention that. Oops. Hold on. Sending tweet. Copy of Inferior and a Read More Science bookmark. Cool. I feel like this live stream thing is like spamming Twitter, but I'm not super concerned about it. Okay, let's see here. Is this what you expected you'd be doing at this age? Oh, that's a good question. I think when I was a little kid, I just always knew I wanted to be a writer. I definitely didn't think I would want to be a science writer, but I knew I wanted to be a writer. Something that I struggled with in high school was that I was a lot better at writing nonfiction than fiction. And that was kind of probably the point at which I started to read less fiction. I was entering a lot of writing competitions, trying to get a scholarship so I could go to school and study writing. And every time I won an award, it was for like a personal essay or a memoir style piece or something nonfiction rather than creative fiction. And it was kind of hard to come to the conclusion that I probably wouldn't be writing a best-selling novel in the near future at 17, 18. So I started redirecting myself towards nonfiction writing, and I wanted to figure out what I liked to write about. And so when I started reading popular science books, I realized I wanted to write about science. And at the time, my passion for biology and kind of like the natural world was just developing. I started taking more physical science classes and more biology classes, and all of a sudden, it just kind of became clear I wasn't sure I wanted to just be a literature major. I had a professor kind of pull me aside and was like, do you know about science writing? And did you know there's journalists who write about science? And when I realized that there was a whole career for people who were like me and were interested in science and in literature, I kind of fused those things together and was like, this is what I'm going to do. And I immediately joined the National Association of Science Writers and started working towards that. And I joined in 2016, like literally January of 2016. So what is it, 2019 now? Yeah, it's been a few years. So do you plan on writing pop sci comic books? Yes, definitely. I'm not gonna lie, I do have a pop science book in the works. It's about avocados, and it's like the history of avocados from myth to modern day. And so it kind of talks about like how have avocados risen to prominence in popular culture. And like also the Mesoamerican myths about avocados are absolutely fascinating. So it kind of takes you from ancient history to present day and then looks into the future and is like, how is climate change going to affect agriculture? And what are scientists doing to make plants like the avocado be able to withstand climate change? I will try not to rant about my avocado book because this is something that like it's like still in the works, and I feel like I don't really have the credentials to necessarily write a pop science book yet. But I would alligator pears. Yeah, they're just everything about avocados is absolutely fascinating, and if you get me started talking about it, I will rant about this like forever. So yeah. But yes, someday I would love to publish one. The problem is that I'm still a couple years away from getting my bachelor's degree, and most like publishers won't sign your contract unless you have some kind of degree or like are an expert in the field or whatever. So once I'm more published and prominent, then we'll see. What are you fascinated by, super into at the moment? Avocados. Do you have that one science thing you love always? For me, it's bioluminescent sea critters. Ah, okay, that's amazing. So yeah, bioluminescence is really awesome. But right now, my big thing is marine microbial ecology. So that's kind of like the interactions between sea creatures and microorganisms. It's things like chemosynthesis, which is what my little ukulele song is about. Um, yeah, SciComm with the ukulele. Um, I really, really love microbiology. I was always fascinated with the idea that there are little things that we cannot see that exist all around us. And then when I read I Contain Multitudes, I was like, wow, microbiology is like super cool. What is this strange field? And I just started researching it a lot more. And then I had the opportunity to do a research project for a class on a type of organism that it's a microorganism that eats methane. You could say they're methane oxidizers, and there's a lot of potential for using them to slow down methane output from agriculture. So I'm really interested in the idea of using microorganisms to like combat climate change. I think that that's a field that we will be seeing more of in the future. And I feel like if I study marine microbiology, that there's a lot of microorganisms in the ocean that we don't know about and we don't know what they're capable of doing. And like we should be studying the microcosmos because it's kind of like space. Like we know a lot, but we don't know enough. And with the microcosmos and the world of microorganisms, we don't know enough about them yet. And so like part of me is just like drop everything and get a PhD in microbiology. But then there's the other part of me that's like obviously my interests are super diverse. And so I want to sorry, it's being weird. I just want to like have a specialty in science, but also be broad enough that I can write about a lot of things because I would like to do science journalism in the future. It's just something that like I'm still working towards because I'm an undergraduate student. All right, let's see if we've gotten any questions on Twitter yet. Is my screen being fuzzy to you guys? I feel like it kind of is. I've read we only have 15 years to solve climate change. Is that clickbait or legit? Well, I am not a climate scientist, but I feel like it's not impossible to solve climate change. I think that a lot of people are trying to put a time limit on it because it forces people to take action. Like if you heard that there was some imminent thing going to happen, that you should do something to stop it before that time is over, people will feel more inclined to take action, like solving the plastics problem or switching from fossil fuels to something renewable. And it's a huge problem. And the biggest issue with solving climate change is that it would need to be a world cooperation. Like, literally, we would all need to take action. And I feel like with our current state of politics where we have like a government administration in the United States that denies that climate change is happening, we're just not at a point where that's going to happen. And that's like really disappointing because clearly there's a lot of stuff happening that's not good. And yeah, I wish I knew more about climate change. I took a really good honors climate change course. It was like a year and a half ago at my community college, and I got to work with a physicist from Scripps Research Institute in San Diego, and he was a great professor. I think he's probably one of those people that also believes that there isn't like a time limit to fixing climate change, but like that we need to be taking action right now. So there's never anything wrong with taking action right now. All right, let me check Twitter. Oh, thank you, Abby, for your donation to the Science Art Fund. Oh, it looks like we've got some notifications. Cool, cool. Thank you guys for your questions so far. That's been really fun. Did you guys bring any snacks or anything? I didn't bring snacks. I ate right before this, but I made coffee. And then also I spilled like half the coffee pot at like 1:59 right before I started the live stream. So I was handling that before I did this. Thank you, Emma, for your donation. Oh, that's so cool. So again, I'll reiterate, I don't have like a funding goal for today. It's more of like to raise awareness and to get people interested in talking about science books and to like promote these science artists. So like I said earlier on in during the live stream, all of the science art, all the artists that this fundraiser is for, they're going to be working on science literacy campaigns. So there's going to be really cool stuff like pins and book bags and t-shirts and like art on readmorescience.com. I'm trying to feature art on the website because I would like to raise awareness about scientific illustrators. I feel like they have a skill that a lot of us wish we had and that they deserve to be paid a little for, for what they're doing. So this is my small, humble effort to try to pay the people that I'm collaborating with. Like I said, the logo thing is sponsored, so I'm really excited about that. I feel really, really happy that I was able to secure the funding for the logo redesign. But these other projects are mostly going to be like when we sell the stuff that the artist creates, the money is going back to them. And then I would like to pay some of those people an upfront cost for their for the time that they spent on their work. Let's see. At my time zone. Yay, thank you, Abby. I absolutely appreciate the support. Any of you guys who've been like retweeting this stuff, I felt so much love this week. Like when I tweeted out that I needed my subscribers to go up on YouTube so that I could get verified for the live stream today. There were so many people coming together to like, send out my stuff to their networks, and like I really appreciated that. Like that was just absolutely amazing, and I'm super happy that there's other people out there who like to read science because it kind of feels like there's this whole community of people online who are interested in this kind of stuff, and it makes me feel like way less alone. Like a couple of years ago when I was first like coming into the science communication field and like reading popular science books, I definitely felt like I was just completely alone. And that feeling didn't go away until I did my first fellowship and got to meet other science writers who were my age. And all of a sudden, it was like there's this whole world of people who love the same things that I love. And so I just basically hopped on Twitter and I was like, I am going to find them. I'm going to find all these people who are reading about science and who care about the world and who want to talk about science and women in science and advocate for these important issues. And that was just like so amazing. Just like warm, fuzzy feelings. I am also rapidly losing my light. I'm trying to park outside the window right now so that I can get light from the outdoors. So I think we're okay. Should be fine. I tried to schedule this at a time where I wouldn't lose too much light because I have like no lights in my apartment. So, all right. So here, I want to ask you guys a question. What's the most interesting book you've read lately? Whether or not you agreed with it or even liked it. See if anybody answers that one. In the meantime, I'm checking Twitter again. I've only been reading fiction lately. That's okay, Tam. I know what your preferred genre is. It's okay. Speaking of fiction books, though, I'm trying to think of like what fiction I've read recently, but I've actually got some Elizabeth Gilbert books on my shelf, and mostly stuff about botany. I've been really interested in botany adventure lately, so like that's been really fun. But let's check coffee. I recently read The Orchid Thief by Susan Orlean, and that book feels like fiction because it's so like action-packed and adventurous and fast-paced. It's one of those books that like you can't put down. Like I read it in like I think I read it on Christmas Eve actually, because this is one of those books that like I just wanted to get through. Mostly dense AF scientific journal articles. I feel that is hard. I can't wait to graduate so I can do fun reading. Yeah. So this semester is going to be like super rough for me because I am taking a bunch of like intro class, like science classes that are going to just be like a bunch of busy work, and also working full time and also trying to run all this read more science stuff. So very limited time for reading. So I basically set a goal for myself that I would just read one small science book a week, and then that way I could like fit reading into my schedule. I've noticed that when I work and go to school, I get really depressed if I don't have time to read. So no matter how busy my schedule is, I always just carve out time. So I'm aiming for one book a week this year because I can always write a book review on a weekend, and I can usually get through a book in a week if it's small. So like losing the Nobel Prize has actually been taking me quite a while because I've been pretty busy lately. But like I have all these little paperbacks waiting to be read, and I think that those ones are going to be a little bit easier to get through. It's just kind of finding like manageable chunks of time in which you can sit down and read. And for that, for me, that time is like before bed. Usually, if I'm like sitting in bed waiting to fall asleep, I can read a few chapters. But I'm a fast reader, so I don't think people can, like, everybody reads at that same speed. So that's why with the Read More Science book club, I'm just doing one book a month because that gives people time to, like, if you didn't finish the book from last month, you still have a little extra time to catch up, and like there's no pressure in doing every single book every month, so you can like do a book one month and then skip the next month's book. Oh, let's see, what did I pick for next? I think next month's book I actually picked it's Kate Devlin's book Turned On. And I haven't that's not official because I haven't announced it in the book club yet, but that's the one that I picked because I want to talk about women in tech and the issue of like there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen with that book, I think. And it came out in the US in November, and it's definitely one that I think a lot of people need to know about and need to read. So I want to bring more attention to it by including it as next month's book pick. So I think my like glasses are getting blinded right now. I'm also sitting in front of the heater. I thought I was going to need a scarf, but now I'm overheating. Okay, let's see if we've gotten any tweets yet. Okay, so we're gonna let's see here. Do you at least read interesting scientific journal articles? I think Jaden, if you do read them, like I want to know what kind of stuff you're reading about. According to the Washington Post, roughly 19% of Americans read for pleasure. Ugh, let me rant about this because this is a thing I feel passionately about. Americans don't read for pleasure because you consciously have to make decisions about what you're reading. The easy thing with Netflix and with the television and stuff like that is you turn it on and you set it to whatever you want to watch, and then boom, you can mindlessly zone out. I love to mindlessly zone out just as much as the next person. I love to sit in front of Netflix and watch whatever, crappy sitcom I've been watching that week and, just decompress from the day. The problem is that people don't understand that you can also have this with books. You can also find books entertaining and pleasurable and, zone out just as much with reading as you do through the television. But the problem is that most people associate reading with effort and with work. You have to pick a book. What if you don't like the book? You have to sit and read the book. Like there's something about reading that almost like I think it feels antisocial to people, and that's probably why more introverts than extroverts read, because it's like a solo activity. I think the main problem is that not only is it the mindset of people thinking that reading isn't necessarily for pleasure because they associate it with like school assignments or, assigned reading or whatever. It's that there's a social stigma that comes with reading. And again, it's because it's an antisocial activity. You're sitting and reading by yourself. And that's really weird to think about because it's boring, that kind of thing. It's weird to think about that because reading is a social activity. Somebody has written a book and they want people to read it. They want people to, if it's fiction, experience this story that they've created. If it's nonfiction, they want to communicate a message with this person. And so a reader is an audience and they're absorbing words that somebody else has taken the time to create. And to me, that's not an antisocial activity. To me, that's like, your whatever your reason is for reading, whatever you are reading, like I guess it's hard for me to relate to people who don't like to read, but I just wish we could like get the message across that reading isn't boring and that people could, like reading is only boring if you haven't found something you enjoy reading. And the other thing is like I think audiobooks have really helped a lot of people who wouldn't normally read because they can do it while they do other things. Like if you're at the gym or if you're in your car for a long time, or if, it makes reading more accessible, which is super important. So I think that that's a positive thing, but like we really need to work on this social stigma around reading. It's just very odd. That's something that I'd really like to do with Read More Science is take away the social stigma of science being exclusive or exclusionary. Popular science books are written for general audiences. They are written for people who don't necessarily have an interest in science. And a lot of people don't understand that. And so whenever I introduce myself as a popular science book reviewer, I always mention popular science as a genre of nonfiction written by experts for non-experts, for general readers, for people just interested in learning something or just interested in a good science story. So that's important. So that being said, I think we're going to pause the Q&A for now and do a few more book reviews for the sake of time, because I think I want to do Q&A like one more time towards the end of the live stream, and then that'll give people on Twitter a little bit more time to do that. Hold on, let me see here. Where's my little share button? Okay. I'm going to reshare this on Twitter, the link one more time, and just let people know that they can still ask questions. Okay. Round two. With, let's see here, Q. with questions. Here's the live stream link. See if we can find a cute GIF thing. Okay. All right. Jaden, I have a question for you. It's Jaden Ruley, right? Do you have a Twitter account and are you based in the United States? I will wait for your response. Yes. Okay. Good, because I would like to send you a copy of Inferior if you don't have a copy yet, or if you would like it. I would really like to pick you for it because you've really stuck with me through this. We'll see if that works out. Yeah, if you have a Twitter account, OMG, I'm so happy. Okay, good. Okay, so if you don't mind shooting me a message on Twitter, send me your address and your name so that I remember you from this live stream. And then I will send that to you this week. I'm actually thinking I can mail it out tomorrow because I have to go to the post office anyway. So if you get that to me right away, then I can write it down tonight and send it tomorrow. So yeah, I appreciate all of the questions so far tonight. So and so tweet at me so that I can announce that you got that because I want people to know. Also, let me know whether you're okay with your name being mentioned in the newsletter because I'm hoping to send that out by the end of the week, and I always like to let people know about who my giveaway winners are. Hey, I got a like. Cool. I didn't know you could do that. Okay, let's see here. We're going to move on to our next book review because I want to talk about the Food Explorer because I mentioned the avocados thing. So this is the book that I was already thinking about writing about avocados when I got this book. Daniel Stone is a botany writer, which I didn't even know was a thing, but it's absolutely fascinating. He's a botanical writer, and so it's kind of like a science writer, but he focuses on botany. The Food Explorer was amazing because it's like one of those adventure books that are about it really reminds me of Deborah Bloom's new book, whatever the heck it was called. I can't believe I just forgot it. I literally reviewed it. But the Food Explorer is like about a botanist who just goes out and finds foods and brings them back to America. And that was literally a federal government job back in the 19th century. And it's absolutely fascinating because all of it is like, I mean, you can tell that Daniel Stone put a lot of time into researching this book, and he's very passionate about it. And I also really love like there's like art in this that's amazing. Like, look at that avocado. So I absolutely love this book because it's like you don't think about how these foods came to America. You're just eating them and you're like, wow, this food is not native to this country. And how did it get here? We grow it commercially and it's available in the grocery store for like 85 cents. How did it come to be this way? And this book answers all those questions. It's one of those books that like if you go out to eat with your friends afterwards, you're gonna be like, did you know that this is the way that this got to America? And then your friends are gonna be like, I don't care because I don't read science, but it's okay because you care. Anyway, it's the true adventures of the globe-trotting botanist who transformed what America eats. And I'm really, really hoping that this author writes more books after this because you can just tell that, I mean, he's got a talent for it. If you liked The Botany of Desire, this is a good book to read. If you liked Deborah Bloom's recent book, The Poison Squad, that's what it's called, The Poison Squad. If you liked that book, this book is really similar, just in the fact that like it's also about, it's actually about a lot of the same people, and because it's the same time period as her book. But I loved Deborah Blue's book, don't get me wrong, but like there was a couple parts in it where I genuinely got a little bit bored. I did not get bored during this book. She is actually on my list of people to read more books by because she's got a whole bunch of them and I have not read much of her stuff. Gods and Robots. So I'm excited to talk about this book because I actually reviewed this for Science Magazine, and that was really exciting because I have never written a book review for a major outlet before. So I was really excited to get a advanced reader's copy of this one, and I actually like the finished book much better because there's very, very beautiful pictures and things that accompany the text that I actually feel like are very important to the book. And reading the ARC without the pictures kind of took away from the finished and final effect of reading the complete book with the pictures included, because she talks about them a lot, and it's a little weird to read something and like not have a picture to reference. Try reading a scientific like article and then removing all the figures from it and then trying to make sense of their conclusions without ever having like the ability to reference their figures, because that is a very confusing experience. Anyway, that's not even my point here. Gods and Robots was difficult to read, but that was because I don't really have a background in Greek mythology. I really like that this author had the courage to write about something that she had to learn about. She's a science historian, and I'm trying to read some of her other books right now. I have the first Fossil Hunters on my shelf, so I'm going to read that one next. But Gods and Robots is just really interesting because not many other people have taken the time to talk about artificial intelligence and ancient history. And Kate Devlin does a really good job of it in her book Turned On. She summarizes some of the same things that this author, Adrienne Mayer, talks about, but Adrienne Mayer goes into it to a depth at which only she could, because she is an expert on, science history. And as much as I don't think the book was perfect, but books rarely ever are. This is one that, like, if you're interested in the history of artificial intelligence and robots and like what that would have looked like in ancient history, then it is very exciting and it is very interesting. It is an absolutely beautiful book, so it would make a fantastic gift for someone if you're looking for that. I'm super appreciative of the fact that Science Magazine sent me a finished copy of this. That was just, it's one of those things that I'm gonna like treasure and keep on my bookshelf. So I definitely recommend that one if you're interested in science history, because you don't meet a lot of people these days who are like, oh yeah, I'm a science historian. It's a very niche kind of thing. And anyway, so that's cool. All right, we're gonna check Twitter. Oh good, oh good. Oh, Jay, oh my gosh, I totally recognize your little thingamajig. Oh, this is awesome. Okay, cool. All right, this is awesome. Oh, look at the donations. Okay, this really is making my day, guys. Okay, let's see here. All right, before I move on to the next book, please let me know if any of you guys have questions, or else I will just move on. Okay, cool. All right, so I am super excited to talk about this next book. It's called Fieldwork Fail. So I actively marketed this as oh good, services on Audible. I've heard that the Audible version is very good, so I would definitely check that one out. I'm not sure who narrates it. I don't know if Adrienne Mayer narrates it. She might, but I've definitely heard that the person I talked to about the Audible book said that they really enjoyed it. So fieldwork fail. I accidentally called this one a kid's book because I thought it was a kid's book, and then I was reading it before the live stream and quickly learned that it is not necessarily a kid's book. Like maybe an older kid's book, but there were a couple curse words and stuff in it, so it's not like let's sit down and read this together, kiddos. But it is absolutely hilarious. I was laughing out loud while I was reading it. For example, this one is about a scientist. He is an ice age paleontologist, and his little blurb here is that he licked a tiny object to discern if fossil or rock. Fossil, stuck to tongue, coughing fit from dust, inhaled sharply, swallowed fossil. I cannot imagine swallowing a fossil. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, so these are hilarious little escapades that these scientists get into, like accidentally stepping on a crocodile when they thought it was a log, or gluing oneself to a crocodile while attaching a radio transmitter, having to tear off one's clothes and run through the jungle naked because they got covered in ants, becoming delirious from fever while in the field. Staring through binoculars to count invasive parakeets roosting at the NATO headquarters and then getting arrested by a security team. These are just like wild escapades that scientists get into. And the best part about this book, in addition to its absolutely hilarious contents, is that at the back of the book, the people who put it together put all of the social media for the scientists who participated into the book on the scientist featured page, so that you too could follow them and see their work. From what I understand, this book was crowdfunded, and the copy that I came across was actually signed by the author, so I really like this one. It's just about the messy side of science. I don't know how you can get a copy of this book, but it's on their website. It's Makisapa. It's Makisapa. And I think it's $20 new, and it's a really nice hardback. It's a good gift book for maybe if we're realistic, like a high schooler who's interested in science. I think that that's probably the ideal audience for this, or people who just want to have a laugh, or people like me. I don't know, but it is just absolutely adorable. So I definitely recommend that one. But like I said, I came across some curse words while I was reading it, so maybe not the kids' book that I thought it was. But the next book I have is definitely one that, a younger person could enjoy. No surprise, I don't really read kids' books because I don't have a kid, but I do come across them at work, so I try to post about them on my Instagram whenever I can come across them in the bookstore, so that I can, tell people about them. Interstellar Cinderella. I do not have a copy of that one, but that is definitely one I would recommend. I bought it as a gift for some kids recently. So this one is Women in Science. It's by Rachel Ignatowski, which I'm probably pronouncing wrong, but it's about 50 fearless pioneers who changed the world, and the author is also the illustrator. She's very well known. Women in Science is a very popular book right now because the illustrations are just absolutely classic. Like this is a book that you're probably going to see and hear about for years to come, because it's just one of those books that's absolutely beautiful. When you open it, I have my little "We Can Do It" postcard in there. It's a good spot for it. Okay, let's see what's in this. So there's descriptions. Oh my gosh, this is one of my favorites. So this is Sylvia Earle. Her deepness, I think they called her. So she was one of the first female explorers she's a marine biologist. An aquanaut, which I think is probably the coolest job title ever. So each of the illustrations of the women they're really cute, and they have like little descriptions around them. But then you have a whole page which is about their work and their life, and it's just a really good way to learn about women in science, because a lot of people use the excuse that, like, oh, I don't know any women in science, or the only women I know in science are dead. And yes, some of these people, maybe a lot of them in this book, are dead, but they're still women in science. And so it's nice to have some like names off the top of your head when people are like, there aren't very many women in science. And then you're like, well, what about Sylvia Earle? Or, yeah, anyway, this is the book in which I learned about a lot of people that like I wouldn't have otherwise known about. And I feel like a good book is one that broadens your mind and helps you learn about things that like you find interesting and that you're excited to hear about. And yeah, this book is just really beautiful. Like I love this illustration of Jane Goodall. It's just the cutest thing ever. So this is definitely a book that like you can just sit and flip through for hours. I like to open it every now and then and just like read about a woman that day. Again, her illustrations are pretty timeless. So, well, that's all of the books for now. So, unless you guys have one off the top of your head that you want me to pull off my shelf and talk about. I mentioned I Contain Multitudes earlier. I don't actually have a copy up here at my apartment in Oregon because it is back home with my parents in San Diego, but that book is definitely one that I recommend. It's a very easily accessible book about microorganisms, and it's just a classic pop science book. I wish we learned more about people of color, women in science, more in K-12 school. I do too. Recently, I've been learning about, I want to say her name is Mae Jemison. She's the first woman of color in space, I believe. Yeah, she's the first woman of color in space, and she went to orbit aboard the Space Shuttle Endeavour on September 12th, 1992. And she's very active when it comes to like gender equality and racial equality in the sciences. So she's a great example of someone if you're interested in space science. But I agree. I feel like in K-12 we kind of just learn about like the white men who were prominent in science. And like lately, the person who's been getting on my nerves the most is Richard Feynman, because there's an article recently about how he just was like super inappropriate towards women, and like if you've read any of his books you would know that that is true. And he's just like a very celebrated physicist, and so people can kind of get testy about him because the people who support him like really support him, and the people who don't support him really hate him. And so he's a very tense subject to talk about these days. But also, as someone who organizes and curates the science and nature sections at a bookstore, I work in an independent bookstore and I buy books for the store. I help order new science books and I buy used books when they come in. It can get frustrating when I'm organizing a shelf and like there's no women on this shelf, or like all of our displays are of Albert Einstein and all these different, popular names. Sometimes it gets it's disappointing to look at them and be like, well, there's all these other female writers who are like, really good, and they aren't getting the same kind of acknowledgement that all these men are. But, what can you do? I do my best to at least share the books by women. I put them on display. I have my bookmarks sitting out for people to find my website and stuff like that. But it does get frustrating when you every single day see these white men in science on display, especially if they've been accused of, sexual harassment. So we're going to return now to the Q&A segment. So again, feel free to use Twitter to send questions. Feel free to drop them in the live chat. I'm checking Twitter now to see if there's been any questions yet. If you could read a science book about anything, what book would you be excited to read about? Because I would really like to read a book about sea stars. I really like sea stars. Steve asked if you already played your uke. No, Steve, I haven't played my ukulele yet. I was going to play it in about 10 or 15 minutes. I have it right here. Jaden would like how progress is going on donations. So I want to let you guys know that we are at, see, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 donations so far. And I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but again, I didn't really set like a goal for today. This was just something that like I wanted to do. And it's hard to ask for money on the internet because it feels a little funny where you're like, you know, like giving money to a stranger is a hard thing to do. And that's why I only asked for $5 donations, because I wanted it to be like as if you're buying somebody a coffee, like someone that you like and you want to appreciate what they do. And so, like I said earlier, none of the money is going towards my stuff, because when I sell like the Read More Science t-shirts and things soon, the money from those purchases will actually go towards the website. So today's fundraiser is just money going towards the artists. So let me shoot out one more tweet about the ukulele song and see if I can get any like last minute donations. So all right, send that. Excuse me. All right, so let's see how we're doing. For those of you who've been with me since I started the live tweet earlier, I'm very impressed with you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I think I will jam and warm up in the meantime while we wait to see if there are any more questions. So if anything comes to mind, just like let me know. Again, I can still make book recommendations or anything. Well, when you go on Twitter, you can see like your insight thing of like how many people are seeing your tweets, and mine, it's like really high right now, so that's cool. It's at least getting a little bit of notice. Do you know, I originally was going to make this as like a 6-hour like live stream day thing, but then I thought about it and I was like, it would really suck if like 4 hours in I was all by myself. So I made it 2 hours. When's your album coming out? That would be hilarious. We could call it Science with Sarah, and then I'll just sing about different science things. So I guess I'll give some backstory on my ukulele song. So like I said, it was for a Women in Science scholarship, which I'm still waiting to hear back about. So keep your fingers crossed for me, because it would be kind of cool if school was paid for. Let's see. I wrote this one about chemosynthesis because it's one of the processes that I'm like the scientific processes that I'm very interested in. It's kind of like photosynthesis. It's when microorganisms use chemicals to make energy instead of light from the sun. And the organisms that do it tend to live near, well, there's a lot of different ones that do it, but the ones I specifically write about they live near hydrothermal vents in the ocean, and there's a very interesting story about how they like figured out that these worms at the bottom of the sea were using chemosynthesis to get energy, that they had a symbiotic relationship with bacteria. And it was a woman who figured out this was happening, and it was really funny because when she said it to her professor and was like, "Do you think maybe they're using chemosynthesis?" He was like, "You don't know what you're talking about." So not only is chemosynthesis the coolest thing ever, the specific organisms I sing about is a great example of how a woman in science solved a problem that people weren't able to figure out. So anyway. All right, just give it a couple more minutes here. Honestly, it made me happy that I got any donations today because I was pretty concerned about that. But like, huge shout out to the people who've made donations. Like that really warms my heart. I think the first ukulele song I tried to write, like a science ukulele song, was actually about the vaquita porpoise. So vaquitas are extremely endangered porpoises that live in Baja California, and I think we're down to like there's like probably less than 15 or so of them left now. The time that I was writing the song, there was about 30 of them left, and they've been rapidly disappearing due to illegal fishing mostly. They're bycatch of a different endangered species that fishermen will illegally hunt and then capture and sell, or fish, hunt. And I wrote a song called "The Plight of the the Plight of the Vaquita," and that one was like a very emotional and kind of like dark song. And that one is one that I'm still working on because I didn't like how it turned out, and I play it every now and then to like to warm up. But it's just one of those ones that uses a lot of like minor chords and things like that. But I will mention that I have never been formally trained on the ukulele. I learned via YouTube videos and then thought I would like to write my own songs. And so that is what I do. I just kind of strum and think of words and then make songs. Thank you, Jaden, for saying that I sound good. I got my first ukulele 2 years ago for Christmas. And I guess it was 3 Christmases ago because it was not this Christmas or the last Christmas, but the one before that. And I'd never played a stringed instrument before. I'm not a musical person, but I kind of just picked it up and was like, this is the best thing I've ever put my hands on, and I want to play it all the time. And I did not put it down for like a week straight, and my fingers were literally bleeding and chapped and calloused. And it's just kind of one of those things that I do in my spare time when I'm stressed out. I just play the ukulele and it makes me feel better. I know it is like the most typical instrument for a white girl to play, but you know what? I have enjoyed it a lot. And I think it's fun that people do like science songs with ukuleles because they're really easy. They're 4 strings and like anybody can do it, and that's the whole point. It's like an accessible instrument. So those are my feelings on the ukulele. Now I haven't played this song in a little while now, so I'm hoping it's gonna be fine. But I think I'm just gonna go into it now because I would hate to mess up on it. But it's a lot easier to play the ukulele via like video because I get like very severe stage fright. It was one of the reasons I stopped playing the flute when I was a kid. I played the flute for many years, and then I got into like competitions, and then when I would play the flute in front of a live audience, I would get such bad stage fright that I like wasn't able to play. Videos really take away the pressure of that. So ukulele has really helped me find my voice and helped me figure out what I like to sing about. And I've written a lot of songs about Oregon since we've moved up here. Moved up here a year ago, so I like to write about the rain and stuff like that. But anyway, this is my chemosynthesis song. Down at the bottom of the sea, there's something that fascinates me. It's a worm in a tube, and I don't mean to be rude, but he doesn't poop and he lives in the dark. How does he do it? Through chemosynthesis. Chemosynthesis. No mouth, no gut, no butt. What? It's chemosynthesis. Let's talk about it. Deep down at the hydrothermal vents lives a strange, unusual world. Giant tube-worms and other marine invertebrates evolved a very strange way to survive. A type of bacteria called chemoautostrophs can oxidize hydrogen sulfide. They come through the vents and then use it for food, getting energy stored in organic compounds. It's kind of like photosynthesis, and the bacteria excrete sulfur. Inside the worms is a trophozoome packed with sulfur crystals. Bacteria live inside the worm. They have a relationship. It's chemosynthesis. Chemosynthesis. No mouth, no gut, no butt. What? It's chemosynthesis. Yeah, that's chemosynthesis. So that's that song that I did. I wrote that one and composed it, recorded it, and made a lyric video for it in the span of like 24 hours for that Women in Science scholarship. It was wild. I don't know how I pulled that together so quickly, but it was kind of like, oh, here's an opportunity to apply for a full ride, and I didn't hear about it until like the last minute, and so I just really wanted to write something and submit it, and I felt like ukulele was the best way through which to express my interest in science, because you're taking a subject that's really hard to talk about, something like chemosynthesis, and turning it into something that's fun and silly, and it's about worms that live in the depths of the ocean. And also, you should totally look them up, but they're called giant tube worms, and they look hilarious. And those creatures are able to survive even though they have no mouths, no guts, no butts. And researchers were like, how the heck are these things surviving in the bottom of the ocean like this? Bacteria that eats methane. What can't you do? A lot of things. Okay, I can't do a lot of things, but here I am doing my best. So I would love to make more science songs on the ukulele. Again, if any of you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel, I will do my best to get a couple more songs up and on there. So yeah, I really appreciate that people like to hear this stuff, because it kind of always felt like something. It was always something I wanted to do. I always wanted to play the ukulele and write songs, but I'm just glad that I'm attempting it now. So, all right, let's check in and see if any more. Oh, thank you, Shannon, for your donation. I really appreciate that. Oh my God. Wow, that's really cool. Looks like we've actually shot up in donations in the past couple minutes. Wow, that's like super cool. All right. So, does anybody else have questions and things? We're in the last 15 minutes of the live stream, and I would love to make sure that any more, questions get answered and or books discussed. If people have any more books, I'm going to go ahead and shoot out a tweet that we are in the last 15 minutes. I mean. Right here. Was there any questions you wanted to get asked but didn't? I guess about the website, I was wondering if anybody was going to ask me like when I came up with readmorescience.com or like what my whole mindset was behind doing Read More Science. But I guess I could actually just share that backstory because the way that the whole website idea came about was a little bit kind of silly. I was at a conference with a mentor at the time who was mentoring me for a science writing fellowship. And I asked him what science books he likes to read. And he said that he's really busy and doesn't have a lot of time to read, but he loves to read book reviews. And that even if a book comes out and he's interested in it, he'll read it if he reads a book review that makes him feel like he should take the time to. And for some reason, that really resonated with me. I was like, I could write book reviews and like talk about books, and then if people read them and found a book that they wanted to read, then like that's the book that they could take the time to read. And I felt like providing book reviews for people would be a good way to, help them get connected to books that they might enjoy. So if you read a book review, you can get a general gist of what a book is about and then kind of decide for yourself whether it's worth taking the time to read. I especially wanted to find a way to connect people with women, with books by women and by people of color, and kind of create a more diverse like books that the New York Times doesn't take enough time to feature, if you know what I mean. They really get those top science writers, but not really anybody else. So I just kind of realized that was a niche thing that nobody else was providing and that I could provide it. So I just kind of made this website called The Literature of Science and put it on the internet and started writing. And that didn't really take off because I wasn't working super hard on it, and it was like close to what I wanted to do, but not quite there yet. So I decided I wanted to really build like an online platform and really create a space in which people could read book reviews and find science books. And so I thought of Read More Science, and I was like, well, that's a good little easy to remember mantra or whatever. And I bought the domain for readmorescience.com, and it was like it was perfect. It was like exactly what I wanted to do. And I just kind of like launched that in, oh God, August? I want to say July. I think I launched it in July, and that it like went official in August. And I started really blasting it out on Twitter, and I changed my Instagram to just completely be Read More Science related, and that really helped. I was able to connect with a lot of people who were interested. I put out a newsletter so that people could have something to sign up for. And it was all just to kind of fill a need that I recognized there wasn't anyone else really doing. I mean, Pop Science does have a book club, but they only read like one book every so often. And so I just wanted to have like a place where people could read book reviews and stuff like that. The closest thing I found to it is that Science Magazine has Science Books et al., which is like a blog kind of for book reviews, which is also what I've written for. But I wanted something that was a little bit more like, you know, personal to me and like something that I could create. I do have guest book reviewers, so if anybody's ever interested in writing a guest review, I'm always interested in bringing other perspectives to the website. So and you can look forward to it being redesigned. I'm keeping like the color scheme and like font, but we're gonna kind of change the layout of the website soon, so that's gonna be super fun. Yeah. All right, so let's see here. Getting the notifications. Cool, cool. Wow, I'm so excited that people have donated. Like that just really, really has made my day. So are you guys excited about more ukulele songs? Because like I really do want to make more of them and turn it into something fun. I also would love to write like a children's science book, but sometime. Ooh, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Okay, if I don't have my bachelor's degree in 5 years, I don't know where I'm going to be with my life. But I work full time and go to school, so my bachelor's degree has been taking forever. But in 5 years, I would like to have a bachelor's degree. I would like to be at a university or research institution writing for them as a science communicator. I've done a couple internships for that, and that's definitely the job I would like to have. I would like to be married to my fiance. And God, 5 years, yeah. Yeah, I'd like to like be settled in. I would like to still be in Oregon. I really, really like Oregon, so I don't really want to leave. But I definitely would like to have my degree and a job and be married, which like those are like the most cliche things, but for some reason the idea of all that just sounds really stable and nice, and I just like the sound of it. I would also like to have a pet, like a dog or a cat. Yeah. I wonder, like, if you're talking about like specifically like book related stuff, I would love to have a book proposal or a book coming out 5 years from now. I feel like that's manageable because if I'm working on a book right now and I have my degree in a couple years, then like I could, you know, see a book being published in 5 years. That also gives me a lot of time to continue building an online platform and, you know, introducing people to read more science. So, it's kind of a long-winded way to answer that question. Definitely joking on my coffee. All right, I just really want to thank everybody again who has made a donation. That's really awesome. I'm so excited. If you are not subscribed to my monthly newsletter, if you go to readmorescience.com, you'll see the link to it pretty quickly. The newsletter has all of the information about exciting things coming up in it. So when I send out the newsletter at the end of this week, you will definitely have a sneak peek at some of the art projects. And also stay tuned because the logo is almost done. I got a draft of it the other day, and we're in the process of like the finishing touches for it and everything. And it's I am so excited about it. Like when I saw the draft, I freaked out because it's absolutely perfect. And I know exactly what I want the t-shirts that I'm making to look like. So, oh, Tam, I do have extra bookmarks, so I can definitely send one to you. They were illustrated by, so Matthew, my fiance's friend, a friend of ours. He is a geologist at UC Berkeley, and he created these bookmarks. We created some of the art for these bookmarks. So I will, oh, she'll pick it up. Yeah, my future my in-laws are moving up here to Oregon, so that's super exciting. So yes, I have that first round of bookmarks that I did, I have a couple of those left. One of them is going to today's giveaway winner, and a couple of them I'm keeping. And then we have a new line of bookmarks hopefully coming out in the next month. Preferably by March. I would like to have a new round of bookmarks, and I'm hoping to do produce a set of bookmarks, sell/giveaway those, produce another set, give away those, because that way we can just keep creating new like Read More Science bookmarks. I'll probably do another one specifically with the new logo on it, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Alex Boersma, the artist of this new logo, I'm just so excited for her work. The kind of stuff she does is like woodcut style, and it's gonna be really awesome. What do you want to do with your YouTube channels, and how often do you plan on using this media? So my fiance really wants me to do YouTube videos because he thinks for some reason I'm good at this stuff, but we will see about that. I would definitely like to do ukulele videos. I do think I will need to put a lot more work into the ukulele if that's going to happen, because I don't want to kind of half-ass them like I did with the chemosynthesis one. But I would love to have a science channel on here where I could discuss books, and if I could talk about like book reviews, or if I could do, yes, please do. Yeah, I would love to make videos. The problem is that I don't have a camera. It's something that I'm saving up for just in general, because I would love to have a high quality camera. But once I have one, and especially if I can get one that would like connect to the internet and I could just stream like that, that would be amazing, because right now I'm just using my computer, which is why you can tell the quality is like, is this photo booth from 2009? I don't know. That's what it looks like. So maybe someday if I have something high quality and I can create, because I really love video editing. That was something that I did a lot when I was growing up. I even took some classes on it when I was in high school. So I'm very comfortable with like a video platform, and I would love to kind of like be a voice for Read More Science and for science books. And I think that having this kind of platform would be a good way to do that. So definitely if you subscribe to the channel, there will be stuff in the works in the future. I just don't know when it will happen. Probably in the summer, because I need to get through this semester of school. But come summer, there will definitely be a lot more content on here. I'm still also learning how to use YouTube, because when I used YouTube way back when, I think I was like either a tween or a young person, YouTube was a lot easier to use. It's changed so much in the past like 5 or so years that I have to kind of relearn everything. But I really love some different science shows on YouTube, so I would love to do similar things to that. Wow, I can't believe we're in the last few minutes already. That is crazy to think about. Let me see if anything else has come up question-wise. Anything else? Again, huge shout out to the people who made donations. I'm just like, my mind is blown that people are eager and willing to contribute to science literacy and science art. Really warms my heart. And again, if you really enjoyed this and you would like a bookmark, I do have a few of them left. And if you live in the United States, it's not a big deal for me to mail one. I can just stick it in an envelope and send it. And so if you would like one and you've been tuned into this little live stream, you're more than welcome to shoot me a message on Twitter asking if you could have one and sending me your address, because I would love to get that out to a few people. All right, let's see here. I think this was super fun. I would definitely like to do a live stream again in the future. Probably a little bit different than this, but still very much along the lines of like book reviews and things like that. I think that would be really enjoyable. Wow, we're in the last minute now. All right, I'm gonna wrap up. We've done the SciComm song, we've done book reviews. We even had author Abby Norman join us for a while, which was like mind-blowing because I love her. And I'm just, again, so grateful for the people who've made donations and been here to support. Congratulations, Jaden, on winning the copy of Inferior. I will get that in the mail and out to you tomorrow, I swear. In the meantime, thanks everybody for your support. It was great chatting with you, and I'm really glad that you took the time to tune in today because it really means a lot to me. Feel free to shoot me any more questions after this. Tweet about your thoughts when you get a book or a bookmark in the mail. Share them on social media and hashtag Read More Science. I'm trying to promote hashtag Read More Science so that things about science books are under the same tag so that they're easier to find. So that's kind of why I created hashtag Read More Science. I wanted like a centralized place to find books. So if you tweet about books after this, definitely use that hashtag. Share Read More Science with your friends. And thank you so much for being here today. We're officially hitting the 2-hour mark now, and the live stream fundraiser has come to a close. So have a good rest of your days, your day today. And thanks again for listening to my very silly ukulele song. Bye.